How's it going? I'm Will Feigl, and today I'm going to be showcasing something that has truly fascinated me over the past few days. And it is something as simple yet so sophisticated for its time, the Atari 2600. It is a console released in 1977, believe it or not, and today the game that I chose to showcase is Frogger. Now, Frogger is a game that might be known to many, might not be known to some. However, for me, my parents both have fond memories of playing Frogger. So it is a game I can say has some sentimental value. So I definitely enjoy being able to showcase it today. Before I hop into some of the specifics of Frogger, there are three games that I found that I wanted to talk about before I did dive into it. The first being Yar's Revenge. This is made by Howard Warshaw, the one of the big names of Atari. He's down in the history books for sure. He's a legend, and he made this game Yar's Revenge that for its time, no one was really spending the time to create these stories about games. However, he did, and it made this intergalactic adventure that is only explored through something like an emulator now, unless you have an Atari 2600 laying around. The next game is Pole Position, and I believe there's only a second one, but I am only talking about the first one. It was a very simple release cartridge, and for the games that I chose to run, it seemed to be one track that might have some different variations to it in terms of turns throughout the circuit, and then you have things you have to avoid while trying to hit apexes and keep your speed. So I thought it was pretty cool. Uh, Lastly, a very weird game that I happened to stumble upon was called I Want Mommy, and it was almost like a Donkey Kong esque style game where you're a little child and it's just an annoying sound of this kid running back and forth like through what looks like to be trusses, and you have to press the action button to what looks like to release a I don't know, a lollipop rolling upwards or whatever you want to infer it is, and you climb up it all the way to the top and try to get as many points as possible. It's quite chaotic, but some games that I thought I'd talk about. Now diving into Frogger because it is a very cool game. Atari released Frogger in 1981, and Ed English was the designer, the game designer of the port that was released for Atari 2600 because Frogger wasn't actually released for Atari in first place. It was released for Sega, and mainly in Japan, it was a huge success. And then a company, the Parker Brothers, which if you don't know, it's a company that was around game production at the time and is now emerged into the company, which is Hasbro, believe it or not. So they received the license from Sega, this being the Parker Brothers, and then the Parker Brothers sold the cartridge version license to Atari so that they can Ed English can game design and make the port, and that they did, which we're about to show here right now. It's an awesome emulation. It uses this site called Javatari Emulator. You'd never believe the stuff you'd find on the internet these days. So here we go. Javatari. We're gonna power it up, pressing F1 or just clicking on it because my keyboard doesn't like to work. And please be warned of your ears. I know it is a little loud. So yeah, as you can see on the top of the screen, you have your frog. Game is Frogger after all. And the one indicates the game variation. So this game is potentially played with two players, and if you're on a keyboard emulator, you can go to the settings to find what the actual key bindings are so that you can play the game instead of having a joystick plugged in, although some do have a USB joystick. And then to actually start the game, you have to go to game reset, and And then every time you reset the game, you have to listen to this music. However, as you can see, the frog has now been placed at the bottom of the screen, and you have a timer in the bottom right. So let's get to it. Your objective is to reach the top of the screen, and it is almost like a chicken cross the road game, except you're a frog crossing traffic and race cars and buses. And I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna get this guy. So sometimes there are water puddles, and they appear that they are lily pads, but they're actually under the water. Obviously, these are all things that are a little bit harder to see when you're playing a game that was released in 1981. Correct me, sorry, I had to look at my notes. So I'm not going to go on this white lily pad here. I'm going to wait for this one. Let's try to get one frog across at least here. Get an extra life, so we get that life back. That's really good. However, I died again. So we have 2 lives left. I was gonna say my goal is to get 8 frogs, but let's see if we can even get 5 here. Let's try to get, so the logs, when they go all the way across, it is infinite. So you can, I could get the extra life. So I go to this log, and then they go across. Again, not wanting to step on those lily pads that are blue. I can step on these and this, and then you want to go in the blue, which is getting a frog across. So the goal is you get all 5 spots filled, and then once you have all 5 spots filled, you would go on to the next level. And next level, even if I might not get there, it includes things like alligators chomping and faster cars and just all sorts of different things that you can imagine. It's pretty wild. This is, I've had a few attempts in the game. I wanted to make sure I could definitely make it across a few times, but I've been enjoying it so far. I don't have too many complaints from the game, to be totally honest. If I was about my parents' age playing this game when it was released, or at least when they got their hands on the Atari 2600, or a friend did, I think I would enjoy it a lot. And as I am now, geez, almost what seems to be 40, coming on 45 years later. It's wild how fast things can evolve, and just the games we're playing these days. I mean, this makes it seem like I can't even think of an analogy while I'm trying to get this frog across, but I think you get the point here. It's come a long way. I have 1 life, 2 lives left, I think. So I think I can get the 5 here. Let's see how long I can make this frog go. My points aren't even that good either. It's like a pretty pitiful attempt. I think you get more points on combos, maybe. However, I definitely have to start doing better here. Let's see. Bam, bam, bam. There we go. See, once I focus up, I stop talking. Get it done. But let's see. Extra life here. Why not make the run a little bit longer? That. Let's see some more things that like I said, there's nothing that I don't like about the game. I think it's, for its time, it's incredibly made. I think Ed Smith, or Ed English, apologies, Ed English did a fantastic job in programming this game with the port. Not obviously fully programming it, but making the port so that people in all sorts of places with the Atari 2600 can enjoy the game. Let's see how many frogs. I did say my goal was 8, so if I can get these 3 and see, I'm going to see how many max points I get, and then I'm going to close this up, because I think I've said what needs to be set up at the game. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think if you haven't played the game, again, you should go to the website, Job Atari Emulator. If you can Google it and find it, I might put it in the description, so look down for that. But it is a super just easy thing to set up on your computer and figure out. So I recommend it if you haven't checked out any old Atari games. It's just something that is very nostalgic, and I'm sure if you ask relatives, if you're younger or if you're older, you might even have memories of this stuff, watching it as I'm playing it. It's just a lot of fun. As you can see, I am having a ball, just making this frog go from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, just as my parents probably did. So let's get this last one, 424. I'd say that's a good score to just end it off on. And here I'll show you what happens. So famous arcade games would always show the score that was left by the last player until you reset the game. And the reason for that is just so you can give an incentive for people to walk up. So I guess that's my last thing to end it off on. It has that simplicity of, hey, this is what the person got before you. See how much better you can do. And it's not something I think that everyone would consider implementing. So A plus to Frogger, and I appreciate everyone watching this. It has been a blast doing research and finally getting to film this and get it all together. So hope you enjoyed.